We're live. Stay tuned, stay tuned, stay tuned. I'm here with Coach John Brent.
And I'm here with the vet, Mr. Ian Griffin. Sorry, I forgot my button to hit. But, hey, look at all these Pittsburgh folks here. It's almost like we need a campfire.
I know. Well, you know what? Let's just do that in about 6 days and call that a day. Yes. That'll be good. Sir. Man, so we are on the second quarter of the NFL. And before I get on to that, we got the famous guest Alan Bailey up there. We got Craig Toney, who we all know. And we got Jerry Jackson, who we all know. So that's about as far as we're going to introduce all that stuff real quick. We'll get right down to football. And I was ready to come in this day on cloud freaking 9, and I had to shoot the horse out from underneath me, apparently. And I still wore my hat to tell Stephen A. Smith to kiss my butt. But other than that, I'm going to throw it on over to you, Coach. We got you on mute.
I said, hey, I actually have my notes, and my notes have not changed after the game. They're the same notes I had before game, and I still think they're the same way. So I don't think today's game did anything good or bad. It was, I mean, the Cowboys are who they are right now. Dak's going to have to get, back into the swing of things. But, my rankings, my MVP and all that was all before the game. I still think it's the same thing.
Good. So we'll get to the Cowboys in a minute, but let's go ahead and start it out with the regular season. You ready to go, Coach?
I'm ready.
So the first question I got is, compared to all your expectations from the first quarter, and we'll start off with Allen and just work our way across the top. How do you think the season is going overall? We're talking about the NFL part right now, not just the Cowboys. So,
yeah, the only team that's really shocked me is Kansas City. I really expected a lot more. I know their defense wasn't what it used to be in a couple of seasons before now, but I still expected their offense to be able to roll because they're loaded from top to bottom, and it's just shocking, how they've dropped off this season. But hey, it's still early. They're going to have to win out, I think. Or they definitely have to. They can't lose too many more to make the playoffs. Detroit's who we thought they were. The poor guys. They got a jinx on them up there. I don't know what's wrong up there, but I'm gonna tell you, I think the conference that's gonna really be tough is that what is it? The AFC West. They're gonna have 5 teams after today with all four teams in that division, that group, all 5-win teams. That might be the one to watch right there. There's gonna be a fight to the end between the Chargers, Vegas, Denver, and Kansas City. Because I'm going to tell you, Denver's defense looked good today. I mean, we didn't play for crap, but Denver's defense looked real good. Even after they got rid of their best defensive player they probably had in the history of the Broncos, they still look good. But other than that, I think my biggest shocker is Kansas City. I think I really expect them to be a little tougher than what they are right now.
What do you think, Craig Toney?
Man, I have to agree with Alan. I was, even after that first round, I'm like, Kansas City's going to pull back. But, man, they are just obviously out of sync. And, man, it's just kind of one of those things for them. But really, overall, I think 4 weeks ago, I was talking about the Rams, the Packers, the Bucks, the Cardinals, Cowboys. And those are still, coming in. They're still the teams, even though Green Bay's having a rough one right now. Dallas had a rough day. That's 5 dang good football teams. And I think really at this point, you could come to the end of the season unless some catastrophic injuries happen or something like that. And any one of those 5 teams, I think they're good enough to win the conference, especially if they get hot right towards the end. The AFC, I still like Buffalo, though. Gosh, this was one of those days. You got Green Bay struggling. You got Buffalo losing 9-6 to the Jaguars. You got the Cowboys going down. So you got 3 of the top dogs just getting, knocked off today and knocked around today, which that happens because it's the NFL. But I'm still liking Buffalo, and I'm kind of liking Baltimore. I'm liking the way those guys are playing up there. They're just playing good football, and they had a squeaked one out today. But I just think right now, if I had to put money on it, I'd say the Super Bowl belongs to the NFC, and it's going to be any one of those 5 teams that can take it because they're just good teams. Very good.
And we're like that. Yeah. Go ahead, Jerry.
I don't know. I'm just watching the whole NFL. My biggest surprise, honestly, right now is Carolina. I mean, they started out strong earlier in the year. Then Dallas just punched them in the mouth, and they haven't been the same ever since. It's like they knocked their 2 front teeth out, and they're trying to eat corn on the cob, and it's just shelling it instead of eating it. And, Sam Darnold is exactly who they've been saying he is all the time. This whole time they keep saying Sam Darnold is, not that great of a quarterback. He's average. And that's where he is right now. He had 4 good games, and then he just dropped the ball. But then today, Dallas dropped the ball. We had 1 bad game. When we did this earlier in the season, Allen went out on a limb, and he threw out a huge number, and I went 1 less than him. And we're better than I thought we would be right now, even though we have 2 losses. And Ian, you and I were talking earlier today by text message. I'd rather have this loss right now when we have it instead in the first or second round of the playoffs. Let's get the ugly out of the way right now and rewrite the ship and just sail into the sunset and do our thing. Because I agree with Craig. There's 4 or 5 teams in there that can go either way, and we got to be ready for that. And Green Bay's defense looks great right now with Aaron Rodgers being out. That's a big thing. They're still kind of scary. So that's just my big take on it right now. And I think we'll still be there when the smoke clears. I really do.
Coach, give us what you think on this.
Well, I'm going to go with Allen right off the bat. The biggest surprise for me, there's actually 2 of them. Kansas City being as horrible as their line is, and it's terrible. I mean, everybody's rushing, making stupid decisions, but I never thought they would be 4-4. They'll probably end up being 5-4 only because Rodgers was hurt. It'd probably be 4-5 if he was playing. I'm thinking that's for sure. But there's another surprise that I was looking at. I can't believe that with losing, Tom Brady and then losing Cam Newton, the New England Patriots are going to be tough for some of these teams that have to get a win at the end of the year. They're 5-4 right now. And when you got a Bill Belichick team going to get late in the season and you got to go in there or even host that team to have to put a win together, either get in or win a division, I mean, that's going to be a tough out, I think. For the rest of the season, I think, like I said, I put my kind of thoughts together before this game. I think with Rodgers playing, I think Green Bay is not only the best NFC team, but I think right now they're probably the best team in the NFL. And I just think still Tampa Bay is just a little bit behind them because once it gets closer to the playoffs, and you got those guys that have, you got Tom Brady and the other guys. You got all 22 came back from last year. Is that right, Vet?
Yeah, all 20.
So if you got all 22 of those guys, a lot of those times it's kind of like you have to think about it. They're going to be ready for a playoff run. They're not ready for who can get the best record. I think the bad thing is going to be for a lot of people in NFC is if Green Bay keeps winning and we have to go to Lambeau in January, that's going to be a tough place to play. And I think if Dallas or Arizona or even Tampa Bay, even though, it's going to be outdoors, but it's going to be in Florida, that's going to be more of an even match no matter who comes in there. But if Dallas has to go for, a semifinal game or even the NFC Championship to Green Bay, I'm not going to be happy about that. So I think the season's kind of where I thought it was going to be when we talked 4 weeks ago. Dallas is a whole lot better than I thought they would be now. But I still have them, and that's my surprise. I still have them ranked 5th. Before this week, I had them ranked 5th in the NFC. And I think it's tough to get above the Rams, Arizona, Green Bay, and Tampa Bay when you really look at what's going to happen coming down the stretch. So that's kind of where I have them at right now.
So for me, I'll say as far as there's a lot of teams that I thought that would do better in the AFC, but I think the Bills, Ravens, I think the Browns, the Bengals, anybody can take it out of that conference right there, the AFC North. I think the Titans will limp in there if they do anything. And I think the AFC West is all that in a bag of Cheetos. I truly think – go ahead, Coach. I apologize.
No, I just wanted to say I didn't say anything about the AFC, but you made me think about it. If Derrick Henry's playing, I think Tennessee is the best team in the AFC right now because the Bills have kind of come down a little bit. You know, the Browns have come down a little bit, and then you see the Bengals get trounced today. But without him in there, I think what Alan said, or I don't remember if it was Alan or Craig, Baltimore is probably the best team right now in the AFC, and I wouldn't have said that 2 weeks ago. But with Henry coming down and the Bills all of a sudden can't score, Baltimore keeps doing the same thing. And I'll tell you, if it gets down to the playoffs again, they're a tough out. I mean, with the quarterback they have, and you know, Coach Harbaugh is a winner. He's a tough coach.
Well, I'll say this on the AFC. I honestly look at the AFC kind of through this lens. There's some teams I really like. I like the Browns, and I like that Baker hung 41 up to shut the Odell Beckham Jr. crap up today, and he just hung it and threw a dime and like, don't need you, had never need you, never will need you, nobody else needs you. Go retire, go hand out basketballs to somebody, go sign some autographs because you ain't what you used to be. But anyway, that's another story. On the AFC, moving along, I think every 2 weeks with the AFC is a different person. I think you could just take the dice and go, that's who's going to the Super Bowl because that's who it is. The Ravens, I will never, ever, ever, as long as Lamar Jackson is the quarterback, trust them to go to the Super Bowl because he is perfect. He's a Marty Schottenheimer type quarterback during the regular season. You get in the playoffs, he's a third-string high school quarterback. Can't even freaking make a throw 2 feet in front of him and can't do half the things because it's his kryptonite. And I would love to see him get over that, but he is not over that. And we criticize the Cowboys quarterbacks. They ain't got crap on that dude right there when it comes to playoffs. I'm just saying that. So I think the strength is straight out of the NFC. I think the NFC could walk it in, to be honest with you. I think the Cardinals are the real deal. I think the Rams are the real deal. And I hate the Packers because they scare me all the damn time. They could have 0-15 season, and we play them one game, and I would still be scared because we had to play them because I hate Mr. Lucky Rabbit's foot and the COVID guy, you know. So, but I think the Rams are legitimate. I think they are the powerhouse, and I think they're just churning. And I think the Cardinals can hang. And I think as the season goes on further, you're going to see that. And I do fear the Packers. I don't fear the Bucs as much because I think they're human. But last year, they kind of caught everybody off on that New York Giant rush and said, here we are. I got the veteran to take us through. But they're human, but everybody knows what they are now. Because last year, nobody knew what they were because they came out losing at first. We know who they are. So do I think that I think they could beat anybody in the AFC right now. Don't get me wrong. But I think if you put them against those 4 teams and the Cowboys, I think the Cowboys don't have to fear the Bucs. I think they have to fear the others. Now, I could be wrong, and I'm okay with that. So as we move along, there's been a lot of surprises. And so a couple of surprises I want to talk about real quick is I want to talk 4 of them. And I mentioned just briefly, and then we'll get on to the MVP conversations. I asked let's talk them all together. Put your MVP conversation in there as well. But we got Derrick Henry going out, which was detrimental. We got the Ruggs wreck. We got Von Miller going to the Rams, which is probably the biggest trade period. Yeah. And then we got OBJ, who I don't even know who he is in any way. So I think all those are kind of the mainstream things. But I think a couple of them are worthy of conversation piece. And so pick 1 or 2 of them and give us your MVP and what you think. Starting with you, Jerry. We'll go across to Craig and then Alan.
Well, I think Josh Allen for Buffalo was probably the strongest pick right now. But then today, I mean, they get beat 9-6. He didn't do anything, and I think that kind of hurt his standings, you know, right? And if that's the case, I'm going to go with Kyler Murray. I mean, I think it's going to right now be between Kyler Murray and Josh Allen, and I think it hurt Josh Allen's stake today by losing 9-6. I really do. He didn't do anything today.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at those guys, and it goes back to those 5 NFC teams and Josh Allen because, you know, you're looking at – we got a long season. I know it's 17 games sounds just a month longer than 16 games, you know, because we're not even hardly halfway there yet. And there is so much that can happen the second half of this season and coming down a playoff stretch, that it could be Rodgers, it could be Stafford, it could be Dak, it could be Kyler, it could be any of those guys. Josh Allen is whoever gets hot in that second half and starts stringing together wins and winning ball games. Because right now, I mean, they're all – it's just – NFL is just crazy right now. It's like you got these top 5 or 6 teams that are just dominant, the 6, 7s, and 1s and the 6 and 2s. You got about the same number at the bottom that are like the 1 and 7s and the 2 and 6s. And then you got this whole wad in the middle of teams that are 5 and 4, 4, and they're just – and they're good teams, man. And just on any, like the Broncos today, just any given thing in the middle of that pack. I mean, who's going to rise up out of that pack, and make a run? And 4 weeks from now, we're talking about them on the same level we're talking about these other teams because they put together a 4-win streak. So I can't even guess on who the MVP is going to be. I'd love for it to be Dak. I would love for it to be Dak, but it's just a long season, and it's just going to be whichever one of these teams can put together a great run. I think I would agree with the coach. I think coming into today, if Derrick Henry's still playing after watching him a few games, if they get on a roll, I mean, how can you not say that guy is in the running for sure? I mean, he's a monster, but just shows how fast and how quick things can change, for a team. So, yeah.
Well, Craig, I'll say 2 things real quick. On the Derrick Henry thing, he must have listened to us when we said that he got stood up, because after that, he ran like a beast after that.
He
so
did.
I think he listened to our show. And the second thing is, does this not remind you of Dallas, San Francisco, New York Giants, and Green Bay Packers all being this level, and then the rest, whoever went into the AFC was down here? It kind of is very similar. And I'll throw it to you, Alan.
Those first topics you brought up, that wreck out in Los Angeles, that was, in Las Vegas, and that was awful. I mean, for one, if you're gonna go out and drink, especially playing as a pro athlete, every pro team's got a driving service. You can call them anytime, 24 hours a day, and they'll come get you. No sense to be out there, especially driving 157 miles an hour and knowing you're drunk. That makes no sense. The trade, I think, is the wreck. That's a separate category to me. That's awful. I think that trade right there, if Von Miller gets healthy, that defense is going to be hell on anybody they play. I don't, with him and Donaldson out there at the same time. Oh my goodness. I mean, they might walk it all the way to the Super Bowl and nobody even come close to even competing with them. MVP, I'm gonna keep it with Josh Allen. He had a bad day. We all had bad days. And but that kid right there, that kid's a beast. I mean, you don't get to see too many Buffalo games. You got to watch, the NFL Network, see some highlights. But that kid can do it all. That he can run. He can throw it about 90 yards probably, and he can put his team on his back when he has to. Yeah, he had a bad day today, but I think he'll turn it around. I think he'll end up being the MVP. I'd like for it to be Dak, but I don't think it will. I think it'll be like Josh Allen. As long as it's not Tom Brady, I'm good. Odell Beckham, I hope he doesn't play another snap. But I have a feeling since Oakland's got an empty slot now, and they probably about one of the few teams that's got $7.5 million they can blow. That's where I would see him winding up probably, and it's probably in Las Vegas. But I'm gonna go Josh Allen MVP.
What do you got, Coach?
Well, what I did was the majority of times you think about an MVP, you're thinking about a quarterback or a running back that's 2,000 yards. So what I did is I pulled up the stats for the quarterbacks for the first 8 games. And you're going to be both. I think everybody's going to be a little surprised. Most yards, Tom Brady, second Stafford. Touchdowns, Brady, second Stafford. QBR, Stafford 1, Brady 2. So if I'm looking at MVP as of right now, I'm thinking Matthew Stafford as the MVP. And when I looked at our guy Dak, I was kind of, where is he at in these? So in yards, he's 22nd. Touchdowns, he's 9th. QBR, he's 15th. He's having a great year. So he's got, from a stat standpoint, it looks like he's middle of the pack. But I wouldn't put Dak in the MVP as of right now. But I would put Stafford, Brady, and Kyler Murray. If you want to go away from a quarterback, I think Kopp he's playing an unbelievable freaking year right now. The wide receiver, he's got 924 yards in 8 games. Unbelievable. I mean, he's on pace. He could actually be somewhere around 2,000. Now, just like we saw with Derrick Henry, as of last week, if I'd have done this, I'd have said Derrick Henry, Stafford were the top two. But anybody can get hurt, anybody can get out. But if you had to pick one today, I think mine would be Matthew Stafford from the NFC for sure. If I had to pick one from the AFC, just as an AFC, player of the year, I think I'd go with Josh Allen for that. But right now, I think I would take Stafford, Brady, Kyler Murray, and Allen. But I'd definitely take Stafford number one as the MVP. So, Coach, I see eye to eye with you on most of that right there. I personally, I think it's Stafford. I think Stafford's the guy. He's the one that has catapulted the Rams, up there. In reference to the Aaron Donald and having Von Miller there. We played them in the playoffs about 4 years ago or so, and we could not run that ball up the middle for crap, and that was just with Aaron Donald there. And I see them in the playoffs. We would not be able to run down the center. We would have to get it out to Pollard off the side somewhere or some screens because we're not getting it down that middle. So that's the first part I got. So the only one I'm going to talk about, I think the Derrick Henry was detrimental, and I agree with Stephen A. Smith. They're done. They're not going anywhere without him. You can go get the guy in the wheelchair, Earl Campbell or Adrian Peterson or whoever you want to call him, and get him out there running. It ain't going to happen. With Odell Beckham Jr., I've saw so much traffic on this that he's the greatest thing since sliced bread. Everybody remembers the one-handed catch he caught against the Cowboys that they lost the game because it was more important to have the ESPN highlight reel than it was to win the game, is how I always say it. And they go, if he gets with the right quarterback, he'll be great. Well, if he's that damn good, he'll make any quarterback look great. Look at some guy named Jesus on cleats, Jerry Rice. He made Montana, Young, Garcia, Gannon look great. 3 of them went to the freaking Super Bowl because of him. 4 of them all went to the freaking Pro Bowl because of him. So if Odell Beckham's all that in a bag of Cheetos, and I'll be honest with you, with Odell Beckham, I'll get on that, and I got to throw it over to the coach so we get on to the Cowboys. Odell Beckham would be a 4 wide receiver on the Dallas Cowboys, maybe a 5th, be honest with you. He would be a number 4 wide receiver on the freaking Tampa Bay Buccaneers. He'd be a 4 wide receiver on the Arizona Cardinals. He'd be a 4 wide receiver on the LA Rams. I just think he's a cancer like T.O., and I don't think he's worth all that. I watched several of the Browns games personally on TV when he was there, and I watched him drop the ball or just not be in the same place. Send him to the Lions and let him show out there, get them to win a couple of games finally in the season, give them some aspiration and show us what he's worth. Because if he's that damn good, then he'll carry a quarterback over. But he ain't that damn good. So, Coach, I'm going to throw it over to you some Cowboy stuff because about hurt my feelings today. Well, you want me to talk about what I think about the Cowboys the rest of the year? So one of the things that I want to talk about, and I want to send it to Alan, Craig, and Jerry, because I'm always considered to be the Cowboy hater, but I'm also considered, I think myself to be a realist, just like I'm a Republican conservative, but I'm pissed off a lot the way they act, but I'm still a conservative and a Republican, and I'm still a Cowboys fan. Okay. So one thing that I've looked at is the next 4 weeks for the Cowboy is their season. There's no doubt. Today, New Orleans got beat at home by the Falcons. We got the Falcons going on the road to Kansas City. The Raiders come in, which they are a freaking tough team to play. And then we go to the Dome and play the Saints. So, guys, the next 4 weeks is, to me, guys could be 9-2 or 9-3. They could be, 6-5. I mean, this is it. This is what it comes down to. Yeah, we had a lot of early games where in the past we probably would have lost. But this year's Dallas Cowboy team knows how to win in the fourth quarter. And I'm telling you right now, before this week, they should have been 7-0. They definitely should have been 7-0 if they'd have played the clock management against the Bucks. They should have been 7-0. So going forward, I think with the Cowboys, the next 4 weeks is the key. If they come out of this next 4 week 2-2, 3-1 in that's going to set them up for a real good ending of the season going into the playoffs. But like I said, whoever gets home field advantage in the NFC, I really think has the big advantage because you don't want to go to the snow. You don't want to fly out and play Tom Brady at home. You definitely don't want to go to Arizona in that mess out there with that defense they got crawling all over people. So whoever gets home field advantage, I think, has a little bit more of advantage this year. So can Dallas put together 4 wins? Sure they can. But they got to get Dak back to the practice field, because that was a problem. You could see that immediately today. He had those eyes like he was a little confused again. You got to get him back on the field and get him where he was last or 2 or 3 weeks ago. You don't want him where he was now, because there's a lot of times today, and y'all don't want me to say it, but he looked like Dak from last year and the year before. He had those eyes like, what's going on when things didn't go well? We want the Dak from week 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. That's what we want.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead, Alan. What do you think about the Cowboys right now?
Today, I think our big problem today was, one, we played today like we should have played last week, coming out of a bye. I would have expected it last week, not this week. The second thing is we need to leave the offensive line alone. I know the big problem is having our lineman out. I can't think of his name.
Tyrone Smith.
But what we shouldn't have done was move Steele from the right side to the left side. He's already proven that he's not a left. The other guy should have been on the left. They should have just left it that way. I'm hoping Smith ain't gonna be out very long, because any guy that has to wear knee braces on his arms, he's a good guy to have up front. That dude's got some arms as big as most average men's legs.
Yeah,
I mean, if Dak sitting out 2 weeks, I think might have hurt Dak a little bit. He probably should have been out throwing more, watching more video. There's a couple times today I thought he should have ran for the first down when he decided to pull up and throw it. I know I saw at least 2 times he could have picked up the first down with ease.
I agree. I know one on that fourth week.
Yeah. And then we went for it on 4th down twice right there and got – when we got stopped the first time, we definitely shouldn't have tried to run it the second time. We got good tight ends. We got great wide receivers. That's what hurt us today too. Wide receivers dropping footballs. Amari Cooper hadn't dropped nothing all season. But today he decided today was going to be the day for him and his little son, CeeDee Lamb, to start dropping things. We definitely got to get on track. I agree with Brent. I think the next 4 weeks, that's going to be the telling. That's going to tell us. I'm not worried about anybody else that we got to play between the Eagles, the Giants, and the Redskins. They'll get up and play us hard, but those we can handle. We got to beat these next teams. We need to go to New Orleans. We need to beat up them boys, and we need to beat up all these teams that are pretty, and the Chiefs. If we could beat the Chiefs, that'd be a great win. Even in their off season, that would still be a great win, especially if we can beat them at home. I'm still sticking with my dead gun prediction. I'm still staying with what I said the first week we did this.
Real quick before we go to Craig, I just got an update on the Kansas City score. Green Bay just scored 13-7 Kansas City. Green Bay's will come back and win this game if they ain't careful.
Yeah. Wow, man, that was tough to watch today. I remember Alan the first week talking about, the coaching situation. I agree with him 100%. You go for it on 4th down twice, and you don't take the 3 points on the second one, and that's totally just deflating to your team. And I really think they almost looked a little bit like the Chiefs to me today. They were pressing. They were trying to make too much happen. I think they were overconfident in what they thought they could do and what they couldn't do. They underestimated the Broncos defense, and it's kind of like instead of taking the game to them, they kind of thought, hey, Dak's back. Everything's going to be great. They got up last week for Cooper. They played well and stuck it in hard. But today, man, it's like everybody was off. Pollard drops a pass. CD's dropping passes. Dak, man, he had 2 touchdowns to CD that were easy, wide open, that just didn't get the ball to him. And 2 weeks ago, he was not missing any of those throws at all. And it just looked like he wasn't he just wasn't comfortable. And I'm telling you, if you pick a Cowboys MVP, that dang Tyron Smith, watch when he goes down. He was running around like Mahomes today. He couldn't get settled in the pocket. So we got to get the big man back, because Steele just definitely wasn't a left tackle. And I don't know if La'el Collins played left tackle any in college or what, but man, the line was rough today. And then, man, we got to get Tank back. Because I'm sitting here watching the team today. I know the defense was on the field all day long, but the Broncos had 3 second-string linemen in today and ran the ball down our throat on the edges. And we got some pressure on him, but, man, we just couldn't stop him on 3rd down. But when I'm looking forward to Tank coming back because that was we need some help on that edge today. I was like, all day long, I'm like killing. My wife's watching the game with me, and I'm just like telling her, they've got 3 second-string offensive linemen in, and they are running the ball down our throat and just doing what they want to do. So, man, I think they're going to be okay. I think it's just sometimes you need a game like this to kind of remind you this is the NFL, and you got to wake up and show up to play every week because every one of these dang teams are good, and they can show up and have a good game plan together. So, man, they just didn't look like they were ready today. They were just off on all cylinders. The defense, I think, just got frustrated. They got left kind of hung out there early a lot. And then the blocked punt, man, when they blocked that, I'm like, oh, this is on. They turn it on. I'm like, man, that's just like letting every bit of the air out of your tire because they're brought back on the field. And it was just one of those days, man. And I remember coaching basketball games, and I'm sitting here thinking there's some of those days you just know as a coach – we ain't gonna turn this ship around today. It's just a rough day. Things are not going our way. If we get out of here with a win, we're gonna be dang lucky. But it's just one of those days where we're just off. But man, we got to get Tyron back. I'd love to get Tank back because Dak was not comfortable in that pocket today, and he made a lot of errant throws, and we had a lot of drops as well. But love Tony Pollard. The dude's a cat, man. Running kicks back, running. I love Tony Pollard. He played hard today. He beat my MVP for the Cowboys today, even though he dropped that one pass.
Craig, I'll say this about that block punt. There's some guy 60 years ago that wrote that dang rule that's rolling over in his grave laughing right now. And I'm like, it makes no comprehension to me whatsoever because if there's a fumble on the football field and the defense gets it and they run 5 steps and they turn it over and then the offense gets it, then it's first down for them. But there was never a possession of the ball. It's like a tip pass is all it is. It was a tip. You could have sold me on it if they got it past the first down, but that is the most insane rule. And this dude is in heaven laughing. We got one. We got him on that one right now because that's some bogus-ass crap. And if Jerry Jones don't get that shit changed in the offseason, he needs to be kicked where the Allegheny meets the Ohio. Go ahead, Coach.
Yes.
Real quick before I send it over to Jerry, one thing I want to talk about with Craig, I was very disappointed. We couldn't stop the run at all.
No.
And that's a little bit scary going forward because some of the teams that we play with New Orleans, having Kamara, there's some teams that we're coming up to play that if they decide that we're just going to slow the game down and run it down our throat, keep Dak and the boys off the field, our line and our linebackers, that's the only real weakness we have. Yes, we have Parsons, and yes, we get the big guy back. Hey, the defensive guys in the back, the cornerbacks and safety, they play well. They're always going to play well. They're just ball guys. But I'm telling you today, man, they had 3 offensive linemen out. They're running the ball down our throat. And the vet, you text me, we can't tackle anybody today. So not only are we we weren't even getting touch these guys sometimes 6 or 8 yards into it. So we've got to get that line started because just like with Kansas City, we talk about that. People watch Kansas City and know. Just put 2 deep safeties, make them throw in the middle. They're going to end up making a mistake. That's what's going to happen. People are going to start looking at Dallas defense and go, okay, we're not throwing the digs. We're not throwing over the middle. We're not throwing outside. We're going to run it down their throat and make them stop us. And I think that's the weakness of this defense. And I think today we saw it. So they got to do.
Jerry, go ahead.
Well, I think honestly that Dallas really took Denver really too light today. I mean, on the first defensive series, man, we crushed them. I mean, we held them 3 and out, boom, jumped all over them. And I think that's why we went for it on 4th and 1 and 4th and 2, back to back, because it's like, man, our defense is playing great. Then all of a sudden, man, here they go running. And Ian and I, we text during the game. He gives me hard times about my offense. I give him hard times about his defense. But neither one of them showed up today. It looked really, really bad. And when that punt happened, I texted Ian. I said, man, we are snake bit. I was like, today we are going to lose because we are snake bit. It just wasn't our day. And it's going to be nice to get Tank back and everything. But, I mean, we give up a deep ball today for a touchdown. When everybody said Bridgewater can't throw the deep ball, he threw it on Trayvon like it wasn't nothing today. And he made a great throw. And Trayvon, he got caught up in the little stutter step, and he went flat-footed, and he went right around him. So, we made some mistakes. We've lost our second game, but, it's not the end of the world. And I think that when it comes down to it, we everybody gets healthy. And like Craig said, I have to agree with Craig on this one, man. Every year for the last 3 or 4 years, man, Tyron Smith has went down, and it's been crazy. Every time he goes down, it's like the first game he goes down, the next game we lose. I mean, you go back and look over the last few years, when he's got hurt, we lose the very next game. And it proved it again today. I just think we were a little uneasy, and I think we really took advantage or took the fact that we're playing Denver. They're nobody, and today they came to play. It's kind of like we were all in school. We play Prairie Land. When you play Prairie Land, you want to play them on homecoming because you're going to win. Well, Denver showed up. They wasn't Prairie Land today.
Yeah.
Coach, you still there? Okay, so I'll go ahead and go on with this here real quick. So I got a lot of notes on this, to be honest. And so first of all, I think it was a trap game. I think that a whole team concept thought that we got Dak back, we're good, and they didn't focus. I think that's what it is. Dak needs to get back and practice some more. I will say this, and I hope we get the coach back here in a minute. He's kind of frozen right now. But what I'll say is I noticed when we played teams that have really good running backs, we're good at that. But we didn't give the running game a credit, so we didn't really play them that well. And they had 3 guys that ran all over us. Now, the other thing I'll say regarding that is regarding that right there, when we played them, we were tackling to wait for the whistle to blow instead of putting somebody on their dang butt. Yes. We had forgotten how to tackle. And, I mean, one even broke off on us because of that. And I'm just sitting there going, what the flip, man? How did we come to this? I got a concept, though, with Tyron Smith. I agree. Larrell Collins should have been over there, although he had a crappy game and still needed to be back where he's at. But if we're really going to go somewhere this year, we know Tyron Smith can only go about 6 games before he gets hurt. I wouldn't play his butt until the freaking playoffs, to be honest. And I would just save him and say, dude, go do your therapy and sit there and you stay on the sidelines. But I wouldn't play Tyron Smith again until the playoffs for that very reason. Now, since the bye week, we've had the disappearance of Trayvon Diggs in this. And so did he study too much? Did it go to his head? Does he have a confidence problem? I don't know. I mean, we gone many seasons with only no interceptions. But with this here, for him, this is a dry spell for him. So I'm wondering what the deal is there. And then the other thing is I still scratch my head on coaching decisions on this is the 4th downs. Why are we going for 4th down so early in the game? Hey, nobody got to give it to Mike McCarthy. He ain't afraid to do anything stupid, okay? Whereas Jason Garrett would never do anything stupid. Mike McCarthy's definitely going to do it. The other issue I got is the offense on the Denver Broncos had the ball for 41 minutes. Our defense was on the field for 41 minutes. Some of that was self-induced, but a lot of that is the momentum of our own offense kicked us down. And somewhere in there, if he had just kicked a dang field goal, that would have been pretty nice to have. That's just my thoughts on that. And we all talk the drop balls and all that stuff. I still think, though, that if we feel that we can succeed without Tyron Smith, and we might have to learn that, I would save him to the playoffs and say, give me a fresh big daddy there, and let's protect the Dak because we're only going to get 6 games out of him anyway. So anyway, those are the things that I think regarding the game. So go ahead, Coach. You got anything? What you got?
Well, I just think this at the beginning of the year, everybody knows my prediction, 8-9, 98, and 9-8. Mm-hmm. If you'd have told me that the Cowboys were going to be 6-2, I would be ecstatic. So I'm still ecstatic. Like I said, the things that I put on paper were before this game, and I still think it's the same thing. The next 4 weeks is going to be the key to the season. Like I said, if we come out of this 8-4, 9-3, hey, I think we're in great position. What I'm scared of is if you don't have the offensive line and Dak gets hit or hurt, of course, then we got a major problem. But I'd really worry more about our defensive line and the linebacker play overall outside of Parsons. Parsons is a beast. But I just hope we can come through this 9-3, 8-4. I think we'll be fine because there's so many teams in the NFC. We're going to beat up each other. But whoever gets down in that final four of the NFC and can win 2 games to make it to the Super Bowl, it's going to be your Super Bowl champ. That's the way I look at it. And I do think the mid-90s, the way the NFC, AFC was, you're right. I mean, whoever won between the Redskins, the Giants, the Cowboys, they're going to beat the Bills. They're going to beat somebody in the AFC. You could put anybody over there. So I really think from my standpoint as not a Cowboy hater, but a Cowboy realist, if you'd have told me we were going to be 6-2 going into play Atlanta, I'd have said, we'll take it. So I'm happy with that.
So real quick, we get D-Law back supposedly around the end of November, right around the Raider game, Saints games when he comes back, which I like that too because he's fresh and we'll get it going. Get Gallup back either next week or the week after that. So that's kind of good. Those are 2 people that can make an influence immediately. So I want to throw it around the horn real quick because we got to get out of here. But I want to throw it around the horn real quick on 2 things. What do you think the record's going to be now for the Cowboys? And 2, who is the guy that's impressed you the most on the Cowboys? And we'll start with Craig, go to Jerry, then Alan, and down to the coach and myself. So go ahead.
Hey, Coach just said it. Micah Parsons is a monster. I mean, the way he plays the game, the energy, the fire, man, he's fast. I think you could put him at running back. He can play anywhere on the field, but he is a monster. So he's just dang good. And I think I knew he was – I didn't know how good he was, but watching him play now, I mean, you can put him any spot on that defense where you need him, and he's going to come through for you and play well. Record-wise, I think we're going to be – I'll be great going with 12-5. 12. I think we can get 12 wins out of this bunch. We're halfway there already. It's just, this is just a tough conference and it's a tough league, man. And you're going to have games like this. I'd love for us to get a little more than that because I don't think that's going to be enough to get home field advantage. I don't think that's going to be enough to get you out of Green Bay. I think you're going to have to get 13 maybe to do that. But I'd take 12-5 right now. I don't think the NFC East is not a problem. I think we're ready to roll. Let's go.
Go ahead, Jerry.
Oh, man. I kind of like our rookie defensive lineman. I can't pronounce his name. Ian, you and I talk about him a lot. He gets in there, I like him a lot. But as far as overall, I think it's Parsons. I agree with Craig. I agree with John Brandt that Parsons is our guy. I mean, he flies around. He's so much faster than our other linebackers. It's crazy how fast that kid is. I'm gonna still go with my 13-4. I mean, that's where we are, 13-4. I think we got to be prepared for Atlanta and New Orleans, and like you said, the trap game's coming up. We can't come in there, half-heartedly. We got to come in there, punch them in the mouth, and keep right on going, and get the rust off of Dak because he looked rusty today.
What you got, Alan?
Well, I think I started this all off saying 14-3. I still want to say that, but I think I'm with Jerry. I think 13-4 is probably where we'll finish up. 13-4. I'd love for it to be 14-3. I've always thought Pollard was a good running back, and I mean he's really showing out this season. It must be a contract season for him because I would be surprised if we still have him come next season. But I'm going to tell you, there's some receivers that are really coming out this year that has really impressed me. The one today, I've never even heard of this guy. And he caught 2 touchdowns. And I get it. It was garbage touchdowns. But I'm going to tell you, a guy, and me and Ian talked about him a couple times during games, and that's Wilson. I've kind of fallen in love with this dude. This dude can do it. I think we can make him the third-string quarterback. He threw that pass last week. He threw a better pass than Dak throws most of the time. And I know we're stressed on time, but I think the reason we ain't kicking a field goal is because we don't have any confidence on that high-dollar leg that we paid for. And I think this next draft, we need to get a rookie. We need to get a kid right out of college. And I would say we need to get Kicker the Dicker from Texas because that dude is awesome. And get rid of what's his name. He had back surgery. He must still have an issue. But we overpaid for that clown. And I think they've lost faith in him. That's why we didn't kick field goal today. But I'm going to go with Wilson as my big surprise right now. And 13-4.
What you got, Coach?
Well, I'm going straight with Allen. My big surprise and my favorite player on the Cowboys right now is Wilson. I mean, the way this guy plays, I jump up off the couch when he's involved with something because he's going to go all out. He's going to do something great. Diggs, of course, I hate to say it, those two kind of remind me of each other. Diggs on defense, Wilson on offense. They're kind of the same kind of person. They're just winners. They're going to go after the ball because they want the ball, and nobody's going to touch the ball if they're around the ball. I love it. I mean, that's the kind of guy you want to have on your team. From a standpoint of the record, I'm going to change mine just because we're halfway through the season with 6-2. 8-9, 9-8 is what I said at the beginning of the year. I'm really thinking we're looking at 11-6, 12-5. I mean, 12-5 in the NFC with the teams that we're about to go through and play. I'll take that because you got to think the next 6 or 7, about 7 weeks. Of course, we're going to play, Washington a couple of times and New York a couple of times. So we're about to play the Falcons, the Saints, the Chiefs, the Raiders. I mean, we're about to go through a strike here of an area that is really dangerous, or it could propel. This is one of those things. If the Dallas Cowboys are going to ever win a Super Bowl with Dak Prescott, Ezekiel Elliott, and this coaching staff, they're going to have to give them a run and beat teams that maybe they shouldn't always beat. But the Jimmy Johnson Cowboys or even Tom Brady and them last year, when it came down to it, they had that real 3 or 4 or 5 games that they have to do well in. We'd love for them to win more than lose. They win 5 in a row. If the Cowboys can go through this stretch, the next 4 games, and win 4 of those games out of all of the 4 they win, and they go up, 10-2, then you're looking at a Super Bowl contender. But until then, I think that we still have to look at who we really are. And I think we're about 11-6, 12-5. And that's not a bad season. But it's not a championship season yet.
So this is what I got. Is first I'll talk about the players. Allen, I love Wilson, man. Wilson, you know what? I would almost let him date my daughter. I mean, that's how much I like that dude. Not quite, but almost. But anyway, Wilson is phenomenal. And he's the Butch Johnson, man. He's a Butch Johnson is what he is. He just gives it all. He reminds me of when Miles Austin was trying to get on the field. He's that guy. So anyway, I love Wilson. I like Lamb. There's been times in this season after we talked that I looked at, what's his name? Parsons. And I'm like, man, where did he go? It kind of looked like he got lost. But that Viking game, he pretty much won that game for us. I mean, that dude was all over the place. So I love Parsons. I think great. We just gotta learn to use him to his talent. And it'll be good once we get D-Law back because I think he can run open range then. Now with the record, we're 6-2 right now. And I think we can go at least 6-2 again. Now, whether we be 6-2 again or 6-3 again, I think that we can go 6-2. We'll take a lump here and there. Just like I said, this was a trap game for us, and we fell on our face, and we'll get over it. And Dak will come back being Dak, and everybody else will come back. The defense will go, okay, we probably should have played like we played for Cooper Rush, because we knew we needed to help him, and we forgot we needed to help Dak, So that's just my thought. So we're going to throw it around the horn. What you got, Coach, real quick, and then we're going to throw it around the horn and get the flip-flop out of here.
2 things real fast. Number 1, Chiefs just went final. They beat Green Bay, which is good for us. That's good. We needed Green Bay to drop, so I love that. Second thing is on the Cowboys, if they go 6-2 or 6-3 the rest of the year, which is great, that ends up being 12-5. Man, that'd be a great season because I'm telling you, there's going to be 1 or 2 teams that are going to, have 2 or 3 losses, but there's going to be a couple that are going to be somewhere below that. So to be the 3rd seed would be a great thing for this team because that means you're either going to Tampa Bay or Green Bay, and we better hope we're going to Tampa Bay. That's my thought. Yeah.
We still got a lot of season left, so who knows? We might be on top before it's over with that. So go ahead, Alan. What you got?
We're playing great ball. I'm gonna always root for the Cowboys. We could be freaking 1-16, and I wouldn't care. I'm gonna still root for my boys. I'm gonna hate it, but I'm gonna still root for them. But you know what? We're talking about somebody that's impressed us this season, and amongst the players. But you know what? I think Kellen Moore has impressed me more than almost all the players. I know what he's doing though. He's coaching for a head coaching job, and there's rumors already floating that there's colleges already asking the Cowboys to talk to him. One of them being TCU. So I'm hoping we're going to lose that cat, and then we got to go all through learning another offense next season. But I have a feeling we're going to lose him at the end of the season. Somebody's going to hire him, and I mean, you can't blame him for not taking a head coaching job. I'm with Brent. You know, I still think we'll win 13 games minimum, in my opinion. But yeah, we don't want to go to Green Bay. Maybe we'll look out and the commissioner not worry about his rankings every Sunday, and we'll go on and suspend old Favre for all his lying and underhanded tricks he's trying to pull because he feels he's the smartest man in the room all the time. You know, Green Bay be out of the picture if him gone. Because without Favre, Green Bay ain't going. I mean, without Aaron Rodgers, Green Bay don't go nowhere.
No, I agree with that. Go ahead, Craig. What you got?
Hey, man, just closing it out on something funny because I told my wife when I got off here last time, so I didn't realize how many of my friends I terrorized when I was a kid. Because the first time I was on this show, Griffin talks about a vivid memory of getting hit by a pitch, about killing him. And then last week, Jackson comes on and he talks about the same thing. I'm like, my gosh, man, it's just a wonder I made it out of Pittsburgh with any friends left. But I'm thankful Alan was on the catching end of those, not on the getting hit by him end of it. But man, it's just fun to be on here with you guys. I'm like, God, I just forget about that stuff. I'm like, man, I got to go back and just tell these guys, thanks for sticking with me, man, and being my friend after I almost killed you a couple of times.
Craig, after we got hit, the coach had to give us like a free snow cone to get us back in the batter's box. Just throwing it out there. Go ahead, Jerry. What do you got?
Man, as disappointing as our loss was today, good teams lose games, and all the way around, we're a good team. We are. I'm still not sold on Kellen Moore. Ian and I have had this conversation over and over and over again. I think he's done a better job this year than he has over the last couple of years. But, today, there were some calls that I thought could have went different. And I agree with one thing Alan said the other day, and Ian has a text message to prove it. Dak should have ran 2 or 3 times for first downs. He had them. It was wide open instead of forcing the ball. And we shot ourselves in the foot. We got a limp into the next game. And we're going to be just fine. And Craig, on what you said, man, all of our friendships, some of us, we didn't always run in the same circles, but there was always something about, Barnwell and Pines Field that all of us got together and we had a lot of really, really good times there. A lot of my memories with all 4 of you happened at those ball fields, the chase with the snow cones, the cup ball behind the stands. Oh, gosh, yeah. Dennis McNutt and Billy Carlock squared off in center field over a nacho with Connie McNutt screaming at them.
Yeah,
those were the good old days. Those were the good days, and they're fun to remember. And I'm just thankful to know all of you and be from the hometown and get to do this with y'all.
So, Coach, you got anything before we head out of here?
All I want to say is I'm so excited about next weekend. I got some cigars I'm bringing. I'm just ready to get around the campfire, and I'm not on prep anymore, so I can eat what I want to. I actually ate some cookies today, some Italian food last night. I feel like I'm alive again, so I don't have to limit a diet until January. So next week, around the campfire with the fellows from Pittsburgh. I mean, I seriously can't be any better than that.
Now it'll be good. Cookies and lasagna. That's uncomfortable. There we go.
Yeah, it'll be good. Wife's making chili. And there's going to be some glühwein there, so it'll be good. It'll be warm for the soul. But anyway, moving along. I've said this all along. Oh, I'll get to you, Coach. I said this all along. The Cowboys will go as far as that offensive line will take them. And it will either take them or it won't. Go ahead, Coach. What do you got?
Real quick, I think they'll go as far as the offense and defensive line. But I was going to ask the question, does your wife watch this?
My wife? She watches them sometimes.
Yes. Well, hopefully she don't watch this because can she cook chili since she's from Germany? Can she cook some freaking chili?
Oh, that's awesome. So she asked me, do you want beans in it or not? And I'm a non-bean guy. And anyway, so
no.
Yep, I don't like beans. So but if you want beans, I'll get her to put them in there. So she likes
Wolf brand with me. I'm bringing Wolf brand.
All right. So from the coach,
and to the vet.
It's time. Stay tuned. Stay tuned. Stay tuned.